Hi, my name's Andrew Urich. I'm an associate professor of management, and this is the Eastin podcast that we call What's Your Story? And today I'm talking with Nissi, Ngassa, who was in my freshman orientation class last year, and he made a commitment to reading books, putting himself in uncomfortable situations, and he started on a journey to make himself more successful by taking advantage of a lot of the ideas that we're throwing forth in the Eastin Center. So have a listen. I think it's very interesting. Eastin Center podcast. All right, Nissi, I wanted to change up what we usually do and talk to you about self-improvement. And I have been very impressed with your efforts towards self-improvement. By that I mean you've decided to look at what it takes to be successful and then try to take yourself to that level. And the first question I want to get to is why you dove into the deep end of the pool and went at this hard. And why?
I think as part of your philosophy where you say when you try to help us, you kick us in the shins, tell us we're not good enough, and then eventually we say, well, I'll show him, and we'll try to improve. And so that's really all it was. And I said, well, I could do a little bit better. I could join a few more clubs. I could go out and have a few more experiences, read more books right after you told us what we needed to do. And so ever since then, it's just got a little bit more obsessive now. Once you achieve a little bit of success, you just keep going. And so that's
probably
so
I'm doing the podcast with you because you're the only student who listened to me.
Yeah.
I have this horrible feeling.
Joe used to listen to you.
That I tell all the freshmen to to do all this stuff, and they just look at me like, "What in the hell is this guy talking about?"
Yeah.
So let's go back to, because I'm interested in this. Let's go back. What was it during freshman orientation that you heard that led you to believe you could, sort of like become somebody you're not in that, a better version of your current self?
There were quite a few things, really. I think a big part of it was you telling us about your story. So you started off, you say average or below average.
Below average.
Below average, there we go, just to clarify. And you were able to build this version of your success through a little bit of effort, through a little bit of planning and, lifestyle design. And I think that's what it was. I thought to myself, I think I can put in a little bit of effort and try a little bit harder and design, a life that's going to be enjoyable in the future. That's really what it was.
So what was one of the first things that you did after freshman orientation that could fall into the category of consciously trying to improve yourself?
It's easy. That's the mentoring program. I joined the mentoring program, I think, right after. And you know the story. I met my mentor.
And you got a great mentor.
Great mentor.
You hit it off with him.
Great mentor, absolutely.
You invited over to his house.
He did.
Took you under his wing.
Yep.
Explained how the whole world works.
That's right.
All right. Showed you a room full of money and
well, more or less.
Yeah. Yeah. So and so that had a big impact on you.
It did.
Because he was a big influence.
Huge.
And he was a lot of help.
Yeah. So basically, with my mentor, I had a lot of experiences I had no exposure to before. So the first thing we did was we went to a country club, and I think it was my first time going to a country club. And so I walk in there, and the first thing I'm thinking, I'm like, this isn't my look. And so I sit down, and I'm uncomfortable. A few people come up, and they talk to us. I have to shake hands and talk. And then, after the experience, we did it again. We did it about 3 times, and now it's very comfortable. And so after the whole mentorship experience, I had the chance to give an address to the donors of the Spear School. So they came over. I was supposed to give a speech of my experience with the mentoring program. And so that was my first time doing any kind of public speaking, really. And it was very scary. And so, but just because I had the experiences with him, I was able to tell the story. And so that led to meeting more people, developing more connections, having other speaking engagements. And so everything just started. I couldn't even stop it if I wanted to, So everything just started going from there.
Okay, great. So I'm going to, and really what I try to do is get you to tell your story and then make sure that everybody listening hears exactly what happened. So you went to the country club,
right,
and you felt, I completely don't fit in here. But the great point is you went 3 times, and then you felt more comfortable.
Absolutely.
Right? Every time. And that's the thing that is, really trying to get across in freshman orientation. Every single time you try something the first time, it's going to be uncomfortable. The second time, it might be uncomfortable again, but by the third time, it's always going to be better. And then sometimes, and maybe in your case, 3 times, you're infinitely more comfortable.
Absolutely.
But people they're either scared to do it once, or they do it once and go, see, those people weren't like me, they won't like me, I'm not in that world. And then, a lot of those deals come from that world, and the thinking comes from that world, the connection comes from that world. So you made yourself comfortable. Then you had to public speak, the ultimate fear.
That was wow, that was something. So I didn't realize it was going to be about, I think we had at least 150 people in there, 100 or so. And so these are the donors of the Spear School, and, quite wealthy, quite impressive accolades and all that. And so the lady who invited me to do the speech, she said it was going to be small round table. And then I walk in there and I was like, why did I agree to do this? That's the only thing that's going on through my mind. And so I get up on the stage, and so this is where, like reading books, we mentioned that before, it comes into play. I just read the book you gave me, How to Fail at Almost Everything and Still Win Big by Scott Adams. And the book said, with public speaking, what you want to do is within the first 7 seconds or so, if you can make some kind of a joke to win the audience over, that works well. And so I went up there, said, hi, my name is Nissi. I'm very nervous about being here today. I went to Dr. Urich to seek some words of encouragement, and now I feel better. He told me there's no money in being shy, and here I am. And so
laughed.
Everybody laughed.
Okay, good.
Everybody laughed, and so that was good. That was good. And from that moment on, I felt like the crowd was behind me, and it worked out very well.
And the reason I say that, right, that there's no money being shy, is because I was like catastrophically shy. Like during my college interviews, I got so nervous, I got dry mouth and my tongue would snap. And when I was talking, it was like South African clicking language. Like I was clicking while I was talking.
Wow.
And sometimes I would start coughing, and just could not get the dry throat coughing. I would sit on the school bus next to a really cute girl, and my tongue would feel like it swelled up so I could barely breathe, let alone say hi to her. So, I tell people, I don't make this stuff up, right? I mean, but the point is, do I want to be like this forever? Or do I want to make myself uncomfortable until it gets better, which is exactly what you did. So another thing I want to make sure we have time to talk about is you decided to start reading books.
Yes.
In addition to all the books you have to read for class. Or maybe you smiled, which means maybe you're even thinking instead of. Is there any of that?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking.
Yeah, because the thing, one of the things is, I don't want, anybody to listen to this and say classes aren't useful, right? But every class is useful to somebody and not to somebody else, right? And I'm not saying we can't get stuff out of every class, right? But the most important things that happen in college are not in class. Your mentorship will pay bigger dividends than any class you took, and I'm disparaging myself because you've taken 3 of my classes. Right? So the mentorship's better than all 3 of my classes. Right? Is the mentorship's better, and so you've decided to read some books you thought could help you improve instead of the books assigned in classes that didn't seem like you had to take them, but it wasn't what was offering for you. Mm-hmm. So what was the first one you read that wasn't assigned to you?
The first book I read that wasn't assigned to me.
After freshman orientation.
It was a Fountainhead. The Fountainhead by
Fountainhead.
Ryan.
Yeah, wow. So 750 pages, and you plowed through that thing like at night, during lunch. How in the world did a freshman plow through 750 pages of a novel written in, what was that, written right after World War I?
Yep, that's right. Yeah. I believe so.
Great book.
Great book. Yeah, so it was a long read. that much is true. I had a lot of classes at the time, freshman year. I decided to start waking up earlier just so I could read. And that really allowed me to, because, you have classes and you have all these obligations and work. And so I decided to start waking up earlier. So earlier for me meant 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock instead of noon. So,
okay.
so that helped me in multiple ways. And that's just what I did. That's just what I did. I read earlier in the morning and then go to class. And
Okay.
yeah.
So one of the things there's certain things I've done that I've become obsessed with, and one I don't know if surely if you've had 3 classes, you've heard this one, but you heard I read 7 books on my honeymoon. Did you hear that one?
No, I didn't hear that.
Okay, so I read 7 books on my honeymoon, which everyone thinks is the most ridiculous thing that they've ever heard in their life. Because how on earth would you have time to read 7 books on your honeymoon?
Right.
And the answer is all my reading goes in the wasted periods of the day. So my wife's taking a shower, I'll read a book.
Okay.
Right? My wife reads a newspaper, I read a book. Go out to the beach, you talk obviously, but at some point you pick up a book.
I think without a doubt, reading has just been. I think that it'll probably be the most important thing for me. So many new ideas to talk about during interviews. Because one main thing is when I go to interviews now, I just talk to the interviewers about the business books I've read, and they love it.
Yeah, good. I hope everybody heard that. You talk about the business books because almost nobody does it.
And I'd say if people need recommendations, starting with Daniel Pink, if you talk about, he talks a lot about the business world of the future. And, if you read his books, you just mention just the name and the interviewer knows him, or you explain a little bit of his ideas, the business world of the future.
And which Daniel Pink books have you read?
I've read Drive. I've read
Drive's a great one. It's what motivates people.
Right. I've read A Whole New Mind.
Okay, hold it because we got to do promotions here. Whole New Mind is the book in my critical thinking class.
Okay.
Which is it's called Management 4650. It's probably going to change the number soon, but it's a 1 credit hour critical thinking class, and we use that book. And so you read those 2 from Daniel
read
Pink.
Those 2, and then I have to read How to Sell as Human, rather. That's what it's called.
So those are the 3 that I've read. And I like all those. So you're talking about the business books that you read during the interview, making yourself separate, right? It's part of your story. Part of the story of Nissi is I'm going to improve, and I read a novel every now and then. It has some psychology in it, maybe, and or philosophy.
Right.
And then I read these business books to give me ideas, talk about interviews. Part of the story of Nissi.
That's right.
Okay. So here's the thing. In freshman orientation, we try to get the point across that this improving and becoming successful is a slow process. So I'll say join a club. They'll join a club. Nothing will happen, and I'll go, this didn't work. Right? So how did you convince yourself that? Because we know, the difference, I think, between what we do and a self-help person or whatever the negative motivational speaker, whatever the negative side of the thing is that they make it seem easy. And it's hard.
It is hard.
And it goes slowly. So how did you convince yourself these little things that you did were going to add up over an extended period of time into something meaningful?
Right. So actually, you said it's a slow process. I'd add that it's a process of continuous failure. You think you have it, and then you don't. So I've been waking up consistently at 4 a.m. and then the past couple of days it's been 9 out of nowhere. I've been reading consistently the past few days. I just didn't go into the gym, stop going a little bit. So you have these experiences. I did a few interviews, and for a while I was on an amazing streak. I thought I couldn't lose, and then I had this interview, and I'm talking, and then I'm talking past the sale, and then I didn't get the interview because I literally talked my way out of it. So just when you think everything is going well, you're still going to fail, and I'm doing that right now. So I think the process, what I've done to keep myself in the game, is just to convince myself that the mission is bigger than what I'm feeling at the time. And so whatever the end goal is, that's what I'm working towards. So most days I don't feel good. I don't feel like doing it. I don't feel like going to the club, or I don't feel like going to, the networking event or reading that morning or getting up early to work out. But in the end, I'm trying to chase a different kind of life. I'm trying to chase my goals and dreams. And I've set up certain things, and every single one of my idols, they say they face the same things. They have an end goal and they want to reach it. And so you need to put the feeling part of things aside and go based on the system and hope that it works.
Yeah, because if you think about somebody who spends 15 minutes a day improving themselves, for the 5 years they're in college, and someone else who doesn't, right? By the time you get to the end, it's an infinitely better person. And everybody, as we're now focusing on with the Eastin Center, everybody comes to the interview, not just at the end of college, but throughout life, right? Whatever you're in, whether you're even just trying to make a deal, which is kind of an interview for a deal, right? It comes down to like, what's your story, right? And do I want to do business with you? Do I want to have you on my team? And each of these things that you do becomes part of your story. And the reason that I wanted to do this podcast with you is because I know that you are committed to this idea of incorporating all these books and all of this effort into achieving success skills.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think it's been more worth. So even when I fail, even when things go south and they don't work according to plan, or I join a club, or I go out for an opportunity and expect something exciting to happen, and it doesn't, I think I'm still much happier overall than when I was a freshman sitting in my dorm room, scared to do anything.
Yeah.
I'm just much happier.
If you fail enough, you start feeling good about yourself for trying.
Yes.
Right? Because, can I speak to, 500 people and then you try and like you flop and it's like, oh, but I tried and other people didn't, right?
Yeah.
And what you know is the next time you try, it can't be any worse, or even if it is, by the third time it'll be better, right? So there is, that would be a great thing. The joy of feeling good about yourself because you were brave enough to try, even though you totally embarrassed yourself. The other thing that's interesting is, I was going to go a couple of weeks ago. I probably told your class, maybe I didn't tell your class, it's the big class, but I have an old car that's almost 50 years old. My friend and I were going to go driving around rural Oklahoma.
Right.
And we were hoping it was going to break down or catch on fire. Or like if nothing went wrong, we wouldn't have a story.
Okay.
And essentially, the car worked the whole 500 miles, and I have no story. Right? So the stories of your life are when things go wrong. The only interesting thing that happened was we stopped at a hotel at Woodward. The lady said, "Y'all aren't here for the cage fight, are you?" And that was, I guess we had a collar on our shirt or whatever. But nothing interesting happened, right? Wow. Because nothing went wrong. We didn't fail. We didn't make a mistake, right? So the interesting parts about your life are when things get all screwed up. When you take a chance and you really go down in flames.
Right.
That's, you were brave. And it's funny, is what the
There's a funny. Yeah, I was gonna add. The funniest stories come from those failures.
Yeah, when you get lost, or when it breaks, or when it doesn't work, or when when the girl dumps you, right?
Yep.
When you get married, it's like, well, that's not it. It's like everybody gets married, but like you got dumped royally. That's interesting.
Absolutely.
All right,
Absolutely.
Nissi, it's been hugely helpful. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you.